Welcome back, everybody, to another issue, another video, another podcast of We Talk Photo. And John Peterson is in the trees. If those of you in video, you watch us on YouTube, he's in the trees. I'm in the clouds. And it's nice to see John again. And we have today I just anointed her the hardest working workshop leader since I'm slowing down a little bit. Miss Tiffany Briley from Charleston, South Carolina, who, if those of you with video, you'll recognize that she is not in South Carolina. I'll let Tiffany tell you where it is. Tiffany's, it's about time after a while, but between your schedule, our schedule, it's tough. Yeah. And actually, Tiffany's between photo workshops. She's going to tell you all about that. Tiffany, welcome. Give us the cliff notes about you so everybody knows.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Jack and John. Wow, where do we start? So I think I was telling you guys, I think this is my 11th or 12th year of doing photo workshops, and started this. I met and married my husband through the Professional Photographers Association. It was way back like in 2012. They had
one of those.
Yeah, I was in that group. I know. You can forgive me for that. And I was in there. It's really how I'd met somebody, an older couple from Kentucky, who, I say older, they weren't that old, but they took me under their wing and they mentored me and said, "Hey kid, you might have some talent here." So they mentored me for about 2 years and had me kind of get involved with the PPA competition stuff. And I did that for a very short time until I realized that wasn't good for my mental health. And I got out of it as quick as I could. But I met my husband through their forum. He also got out of there as quick as he could. And we started doing just half day and full day photo tours in Charleston, because, we're based and live out of Charleston, South Carolina. And we did that for a lot of years.
And you still do.
We're the company. We're trying to figure out where the company is going to go next with that one, because I'm never home to do it. But we just started doing it. And I remember people saying, "Are you ever going to do bigger workshops elsewhere?" And I said, "No, never going to do that." And yet here we are in the Badlands. So here we are. Never say never, unless you want something to happen, and then say you won't do it and it'll end up happening. But so here we are. And now I'm doing about, I think it's 15 or 16 workshops in a year.
Tiffany's one of these people that, John, you and I only see in the field.
Yes, exactly.
And we're going to see each other maybe twice here in the next couple of months in Colorado and in the Smokies. I remember, was it your dad that you used to?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing good. So my husband stopped photography in 2020, and most of the time I'm on the road by myself now. And so when I zip up to the Smokies, because it's not too far of a drive, sometimes I'll throw my dad in the car, and he loves it. And he's, he's a great conversationalist. He loves talking to my guests, and he's just he's fun to have along.
We were up at Tremont one day, and your father and I talked for about a half an hour, and finally, everybody's loaded in the car, and I'm still talking to your dad.
Yeah,
he's your social coordinator.
Yeah, he everyone loves him, and he's just such a sweet guy. So, and he loves, I sent him a picture from where I was shooting yesterday morning, and he's like, "Oh, I need you to get an RV so I can go with you."
Okay, give him my best.
I will. Thanks for asking about him.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just going to say, Tiffany, tell us where you've been this year and where you're going, and I already know the answer, but tell everybody about your workshops. And this isn't a commercial, folks, but I have to tell you that if you're thinking of taking a workshop in some of the areas that Tiffany goes, she's great, and where have you been this year so far?
Okay, so started out in Utah. We did a a trip out near Moab, but then really moved more towards Hanksville and
Right.
Capitol Reef. Yeah. And so went out there in January, and that was just amazing. I was really hoping for snow. We didn't get any, but it was fantastic. So we started there, and we had some mutual friends, I think, on that trip. And
Yes.
then I headed back to Charleston. We do bring in Charleston just for those azaleas and live oak trees with the Spanish moss is fantastic. And then the Smokies zipped up there. And then I came rushing home. I had to pack my bags because when I hopped on a flight to Scotland and we did the Isle of Skye and Glencoe over there. And then I had about that was a 7-day workshop. I had about 2 days of rest, and then I had to get on a flight to go to Tuscany.
Because you had to. She had to do
I
that.
know.
Well,
Rough.
like here's the thing. The reality of it though is I came off of, those 7-day workshops. Those
Yeah.
are
They're
that's
hard.
hard work. That's
Yeah.
hard work, especially, when you're out late, et cetera, et cetera. So I got sick actually. Landed in Pisa, got really sick, went to the druggist, loaded up on all of the drugs, and had about 3 days to kind of try to get my body back in order before the next one started. And so I came home from Tuscany, and then I was up in Banff, and then after that, I had about a 2-month break, and then now here I am in the Badlands.
I have got my oil changed this morning, and the guy in Toyota said, he says, "Where are you going?" So I told him where I'm going. He goes, "Oh God," he goes, "Oh, it must be unbelievable." I said, "Well, let me tell you, it's 4 o'clock in the morning get up time sometimes during the year. People think it's a. I mean, I love what I do, and I know you do, and John does, but we have to perform,
It's
and
not a vacation.
yes,
It's
not at
not a
all.
vacation.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
No,
And days like today for you, I mean, this is a great time to wind down, and you're in between events up there. Yeah, correct.
yeah, yeah, and I always come out at least 5 to 7 days. If as long as I usually build the workshop, so I have 5 to 7 days alone for scouting. So my goal is always try to find something new that I've never seen in every location during those 5 to 7 days before the workshop, just so it keeps me engaged and it keeps me falling in love with the location. And then that's the time I do my personal photography because you should be
Correct.
teaching when you have a workshop and not doing your own photography. So
Correct.
So
that's
so
it's
what did you find in the Badlands so far that's new and
yes.
unique?
Here's the thing about the Badlands. It is if you just do the Badlands and stay on the pavement or at the lookout, you don't actually see the Badlands. And so it requires I'm not going to even call it hiking because it's not that it's that, there's some parts that are a little sketchy, but it mostly just good walking. And the diversity in the Badlands is remarkable to me because
Hmm.
each location has its own nuance, the shape of the rock, the colors of, you know, uh, just of the hills. It's incredible. So I'm just always trying to find new little spots to go, little canyons to get into, things that people don't normally see when they come to the Badlands. Yeah.
The Badlands is very similar. It's not quite Death Valley in the Palouse, but it's a lot of patterns and textures and shapes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
colors.
no obvious iconic
Yeah,
subjects.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And I think that, while if you got those moody skies, I had really heavy, dense fog and some moody stuff. So the long lens work from some of the top of those, overlooks was pretty great the other morning. But my favorite is just kind of getting in and trying to find unique foregrounds and using the colors and the shapes of just the cracks in this earth. Like I wish you could see what I'm standing on. It's just all cracked up and it's so beautiful. So it's a lot of fun.
And just to be clear, for those folks that don't have video, just to set the scene, Tiffany is out in the Badlands and she's sitting next to her Jeep with the hills behind her in the shade. She's next to her Jeep in the shade and talking to us now. And isn't technology great?
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
your
I'm
background's
hugging
better than ours, and we're using Zoom background.
Yeah.
I'm hugging close to the Jeep. You can see it because I'm using the little shade that I have for a short time until that sun gets a little higher. It's a bluebird sky day.
Yeah.
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 So, So this is not a, so you on this trip, you're gone how long? At least probably
Yeah.
14 to 18 days, no?
Well, so I keep going. I left my husband 1 week before our 12th anniversary. I
Oh,
said, I love you. I'll see you in 2.5 months. And
God bless them.
yeah, he's a
Yeah.
really patient, sweet guy. And so I hit the road here for the Badlands. I'll leave here, I guess it's Sunday or Monday of, I guess it's coming Sunday or Monday. My workshop starts on Thursday. And then I'll head to the Tetons. And then I'll head to Colorado, and I've got back-to-back workshops there. So just chasing fall color throughout the country.
Don't tell me you're in the Tetons last week of October. No?
No, I'll be back east then. The very last week of October, we're doing the cypress swamps.
Oh,
So,
that's, well, wait,
yeah.
I thought it was September, last week of September.
Oh, I'll already be up in down in Colorado scouting for the first workshop. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to run events there, and the last day we were at Oxbow Bend. In fact, I was with Bill Fortney,
Yeah.
and I said to Bill, "I'll be right back." And I came back after I counted over 100 tripods, and I
Yeah.
said, "I can't deal with this anymore." So we go in December when it's nice and cold, and anybody wants
Yeah.
this great trip, man.
Yeah.
We
It
go
is.
the
I
first
was
week of December, and the animals are crazy, and it's great. So
the last year at the Tetons. I had, you get to these points where you're going, and I even see this with participants. If it's a longer workshop, usually if it's a 7 day, usually by day like 3 or 4, they're kind of starting going. Like, I just need a minute,
mhm.
John and I talk about it all the time, and for those of you who have been with us that are listening to this, I'm sure you'll understand. We're trying not to push you. We're trying to get you as much as we can, because there's more
Yeah.
there than we can deliver, and sometimes we have to remember, take an hour off to rest during the day and what have
Yeah,
you. But
that's the one thing I've been working on this year is give
yeah,
everybody a break.
but the average person, they're not like us. They don't handle a camera, over 300 days a year. And after, I have this theory that there's the period of adrenaline. That's the first day, and
Yeah.
at noon the second day, and then about mid-afternoon the second day, if it's a 3.5 day for us, mid-afternoon to the beginning, morning of the next day, it's kind of everybody's kind of getting tired a little bit, and then it
Yeah.
kicks in again at the end. And
Yeah.
people aren't used to that schedule, so we have to, as leaders, have to keep that in mind. And
I
it's
So I was out in the Tetons and at Oxbow Bend, and I could feel myself kind of, when you just start getting really tired. You're tired, but you're trying to push through because that
right,
next sunset's probably going to be the one that blows up.
right,
Hmm.
And
right,
I'm
right.
standing down there, and I do the Fujifilm system, and I was trying to get it mounted on my tripod. Sure, I had it on there, and it wasn't. And just I let go of it, and whoop. And I knew at that point it was time to stop. But the
Yeah,
lens, my 16 to 55, bit the dust.
Oh
yeah.
no.
It was just terrible. It's like I think, and this has happened to clients where you just get so tired, you're just get a little bit maybe more careless, not intentionally, just
It's
because
happened
you
to
become
all of
so
us.
exhausted. You just kind of have to learn when to take a pause.
Yes, yes,
Well,
yes, yes.
besides just physically and just coordination wise, I mean, being tired, that dramatically affects your creativity.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
And I
true.
think for each person, they have to be cognizant of that and then do what they need to do. Fostering creativity is very unique to the individual and but we have to give people time for them to sort of rejuvenate their batteries, creative batteries.
They're not used to it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, and I think uh, doing this as much as I do it this past several weeks, you asked how my dad was doing. I was only home for about a month and a half, 2 months. And in that, for 3 weeks, I was in the hospital with him every weekend for a heart attack, a stroke, and then another
Oh,
scare of a heart attack. And then in the midst of that, I had to put his dog down. So it's been a rough last month, but I'm telling you that because when I first got here to the Badlands, I love the Badlands. Like, this is one of my favorite places to be, but I was not feeling it. And so I gave myself, when I first got here, about 2 days to just wander and walk, didn't pull my camera out. I just had to sleep and rest and reset and just be in nature. And then the third day I was like, oh, it's time to look at that sunrise. I'm going to get up for it. And then things started to flow. But I have clients who've told me, like, I think I'm losing my passion for photography. I'm just not as interested right now. Or it's usually, I find it's connected to something else
Right.
that's going on. And it's not that you've lost it completely. It's just that you just need a minute
And it's
to
okay.
to just to go through it, and it'll come back when it's supposed to come back. But being in nature, whether you have the camera or not, is still good for the soul. And then I think the creativity comes back once you work through or you rest.
I
Well,
I went to Indiana University. I have a degree in music. I don't know whether you knew that or not,
Hmm.
but at any rate, Bobby Knight was the basketball coach there, and Knight used to say that he made his practices so hard that the game was the easy part for the players. And I think what happens, good workshop leaders, their preparation and the scouting and everything that goes into the event prior to the guests arriving,
Yeah.
that's the tough part. The workshop itself for us, it's kind of it's not a breeze, but it's fun. We enjoy it. It's the preparation that a lot of people don't see. They don't see the 2, 3, 4 days of scouting and how many years of taking notes and knowing where to be, and that's why there are a lot of people running workshops, Tiffany, who are unprepared. I see
Mhm.
them. I could pick them out.
let me just jump back though real quick, Tiffany. I loved what you said about how you just took some time for yourself, right? To just process and just to relax and just to let everything come back to you. And I think that's such an important lesson for everybody, just in photography and in life, of just, all right, just slow down and be for a little while and let everything process. And but what kind of words would you tell? So we have clients that show up and they've got their life and they're just showing up and they have 4 or 5 days. They don't have the luxury to sit around for 2 or 3 days. I mean, how do you talk to folks about that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, John. So, it's for me, I just encourage people, yeah, you don't have, if you can come out a day or two and you just, before it even starts, just great, do it. If you can't and you're just coming straight out and you're jumping into it, when you first step out of the car, I really love the people who walk out of the car and they don't even reach for their gear for a sec. If you're going to be close to the car or shooting somewhere near that where you can see it, they just get out and they look around. And as soon as I see those people, I know exactly who they are. Like, those are the ones who are really absorbing it. And I think that posture of just getting out and taking the pressure off of yourself to get the best spot, to get to, you know, get out and, get as much as you can, as quick as you can, just let it come to you and really pay attention to what's drawing you. I think that's going to feed into that creativity and getting back then into it, just being aware of your surroundings first, take an inventory of what you're viewing, and then let the photography flow is but every single time I'll never forget, I had in my Cypress Swamps workshop, I had a real quiet woman come out with me years back, and she was in her kayak, and she hadn't said much for the first couple of days, and then it was close to the last day, and she said, my mother's going through dementia. I don't know how much longer I have her, and I really, really needed this. Like, and I think as a workshop leader,
Mm,
understanding that life is happening outside of the workshop, and sometimes the workshop's the escape. There, people are often coming with really heavy, hard things in life, and so I
right.
feel like our job is part teacher, guide, getting you to the best spot, best light. But and a lot of times, at least I find with the way things happen for me, is that it's also part just being a friend and sometimes therapist to people who are really navigating tough life stuff,
Let me
and
tell you
all of
what
it
we are.
matters.
Let me tell you what we are. We're
Yeah.
exactly what you said. We're
Hmm.
psychologists. We're like a bartender. Because, well, no, because there's a lot of people show up that may never see us again.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, John and I can tell you stories
Oh,
about
they sure.
they share. I mean, because they there's a way that they can vent, and this is their time to do that. And a lot of what people come on workshops for, yes, for the photography and the images, hopefully,
Sure.
but it's just to get away, like you said. And a good leader, and this is why you're you're the best,
Thank you.
is that you have to read people, and
Yeah,
you have
100%.
and you have to do it quick. John and I run a meet and greet the
Yep.
night before, and I tell other workshop leaders that's the most important
It's
time
critical.
of the workshop to figure out
100%.
what level people are at, to get people understand that this is the Marines and we're not curing cancer here, and we want you all to have fun, learn a few things, and we set the pace and the tone. And obviously you do the same thing. And it's so important for workshop leaders and those of you who are listening to this that are thinking about getting into business, go for it. But
Yes.
understand that it's not just telling people it's 125th at F8,
No. And I think that what you're saying, for me, the most important critical part is, often we'll meet and then we'll go get dinner. And I'm kind of at that point, get dinner, figuring out the personality dynamics I've got that, if they're new, I have more repeats than I get new people. But so that's an advantage for me. But if I've got, new people, that first evening of shooting for sunset, that's where I'm really figuring out where are they? Because some people want technical help. Some people are just there to shoot for their gallery, so they just want their location. Some people are shooting with I've had a lot of iPhones. I don't even know. I
Mhm.
mean,
Okay.
the iPhone shooters are coming out with a vengeance.
Okay.
And so, it's figuring out what they want, or they just want help with composition. So really, I think in that first night, you're figuring out what do they need help with, and then trying to get them to that next thing.
Yeah.
I just I want to jump back a few minutes because you said a couple of things that were near and dear to my heart, Tiffany, which was people getting out of the car and being present in your location. I mean, being observant and being present with what you're seeing. I mean, too often we miss that in this hectic world and with this pressure to create. And then the second thing that you said that I wanted to reiterate for our listeners was paying attention to how you feel or react to what
Yeah.
you are seeing. Those to me are the foundations of creativity in your own voice in a
Yeah.
particular location.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that there's two postures to even whether you're out doing photography by yourself or you're with a group. I think there's a hunter and a gatherer posture of photography. I think, the hunter is, saw this one composition at this one location. I'm going to find the location. I'm going to get the same composition, or I know exactly what I want and I hope everything lines up. And you get really disappointed if you don't have the conditions
Oh,
that you were
yeah.
hoping to have on the trip. That's the hunter. The gatherer is the one who goes, is kind of flowing with it, is being aware of their surroundings, and then is taking and adapting. Is it all blue sky? Well, maybe we need to think black and white. They're a lot more versatile, and I think aware of opportunities, and usually their yield will be higher because they're not, gridlocked on that one thing.
Well, both yield as well as I think satisfaction with
Mm,
the experience because you're present and reacting to the moment
yeah.
instead of coming with these predefined expectations of this is what I want. I think you have just a much richer experience when you're connected to your environment.
I totally agree. And I do
Yeah.
think that photography too is a little bit like an orange. It's really an orange. No, I think that first peel, especially when you're starting, you're imitating. You're imitating the people that you see. We all did that,
Yeah.
And then, as you get deeper, you can stay in that tract of, hey, I saw this person shoot this location and I loved it. So I'm going to try to emulate that or take that as inspiration and go with it. Um, but then when you get past that and then you start saying, okay, I've got that, the next level of really finding your own style, I think, is looking at it and saying, now, how is it speaking to me?
Mm.
And then how can I communicate that through the environment of where I am. And then I think that's peeling off the orange and getting really into like the meat of it is, what is it? How can I see different, and being brave enough to try a new composition that, may work and it may bomb, but at least you're trying something new.
Being brave enough, boy,
The other
that's
thing, the other thing
And
too, Tiff, is that if you go to an art gallery and somebody's looking at a painting on a wall and there's 10 people there, each person is not uncommon. They'll have a different vision of what they're looking at. So if you have 10 clients lined up shooting the same subject, their feelings are going to be different. And the challenge is to write your story in the photograph.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And
I think too,
go ahead, Tiffany.
yeah, and I think too, just being willing to share those ones where you're not quite sure about the comp, you took a shot, but then being willing to share it on social media, because it can live for forever and a day on your memory card and never see the light of day of showing it to anybody. But being willing to share an image that's maybe a different composition than what we've seen, like those really interest me.
Yeah, but being brave enough and having the confidence enough is I think a great skill for a lot of photographers, especially beginning into intermediate photographers. A lot of them, we don't want to share our work, or they don't want to share their work because they're afraid of rejection and afraid of they don't stack up to Mark Adamus or Tiffany Briley or somebody, but having that self-confidence, just, what, this is me and take it or leave it. And even I've shared so many images that have flopped, but I've learned from each one of them. I have a circle of reviewers that I'll send stuff to, but then even we had a guest on a while ago, and he said there are no bad images. There are, there's good images, but then there's images that you can learn from. So our bad images are ones that we should be able to learn a lesson from. What worked, what didn't work, what would I do differently next time?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to share stuff and learn from it.
Yeah. And we're our own worst critic. I've had a workshop guest who's been out with me several times, and he is a heck of a photographer. I mean, his compositions are beautiful. His processing is so elegant, but he deleted his whole entire Instagram because he's a perfectionist.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that you got to start putting those back up there, because I see them and I'm thinking like, you're above the fold. Like, I mean, you're shooting at a high level here. So I think, giving yourself grace and bringing trusted people in, like what you're saying, John, is so critical to just kind of have reinforcement.
Yeah, no matter where you're at in your photographic journey, I mean, from beginning to expert, having sounding boards around us it's great.
Yeah.
Being a perfectionist, I have to tell you that when I was in the music business, if you weren't one of the best players, you didn't eat.
Right.
And you had to be, and I still wear that today, and it's tough. It's tough because anybody that can do anything 100% of the time, I don't know who they are.
Right.
Maybe God does. God can. Other than that, I don't. I just sure can't. But it can be frustrating, and people get down, and you see them in the field, and they're not happy because maybe the images they took that morning didn't turn out the way they wanted. We have to, and as leaders, we have to kind of stimulate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Drag them along.
For sure.
Drag them along. So let's. We're getting close to probably a little more than 3/4 of the way through this podcast. We don't really get into gear, but Tiffany, tell us how you pack on these trips.
Mm-hmm.
You're not driving a motorhome there, so
no,
you're gone for so long. Just somebody's going to want to know how in the world, how does she function?
Yeah, I ask myself that same question. How do I function? Okay, so there's going to come a time when I do need to get some sort of larger trailer or tow something behind me, but until I don't have to do that. So I have a really tight system. I've got a Jeep Wrangler. It's the Unlimited, so there's the 4 doors on it. And I chose the Rubicon because I can get anywhere at all with it. So she's great. Um, my gear, in terms of photography gear, I mentioned I shoot with the Fujifilm. I was walking in many moons ago, I worked for the Landscape Photography magazine, and I was walking in the Photo Plus show in New York, and I saw the pictures hanging on a wall, and I thought, wow, that's a heck of a printer company, And then I realized, no, it was Fujifilm. Like the colors were so beautiful. So I got into the Fujifilm system so many years ago, and have been with them ever since. So I have the XT5, right now, and I love it. It's fantastic. I was a Nikon girl before that.
You and me.
And
I mean, I wasn't a girl, but
yeah.
I was going to say, Jack.
And so my gear, I've got a Shimoda bag. I love the Shimoda. It fits me really great, and I can kind of get everything in it. What I'm finding more and more, though, is that my bag is staying in my Jeep, and I'm hiking in with just one or other lens. I'm not lugging. I felt like in the early days I needed to lug my gear so so I looked like a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm caring a lot less about that, and I just know, hey, at this location, I'm probably just going to need this lens and maybe that. And sometimes that bites me. I don't have the one, that I unexpectedly need. But if I can get further and have more fun by just having a couple things and working within constraints, I'm all about that. So that's kind of what's been happening lately. I have 2 duffel bags, that hang on my roll bars of my Jeep. One side is all the clothing for the top, and the other side's the clothing for the bottom. I run a Jackery to kind of keep my power on, so I can keep the batteries plugged in and the laptop running. And I have a memory foam bed in the back of my Jeep that if I were 2 inches taller, it wouldn't work, but it works perfectly just for my height. And I'm a little bit of a princess in a pea. The memory foam is very large, and I sleep like a baby when I'm on the road. And if I can get somewhere where I feel exceptionally safe, I just open it all up and just enjoy the elements while I'm sleeping. It's great.
You gotta be careful though. I mean,
Yeah, being a female on the road alone, I'm constantly aware. So when I get home, I'm usually pretty tired, just because I can finally kind of relax and
let your guard down.
Let the guard down. I've got really dear friends that are nearly family, who are actually the camp hosts out in Ouray and near, the San Juan Mountains in Colorado.
Yep.
And I'll go out there and be with them for about a week and a half, even before my workshop starts. And that's my rest period, because that's midway through all these 7 workshops.
Yep.
And I can totally let the guard down, because I know I'm safe there. But that's about the only time I'll be in a campground. Otherwise, I disperse camp a lot.
How in the world do you have such great internet? I mean,
yeah. So I really worked hard for this, you guys.
I know, I know where you are, and I know what it's like. How do you do it?
I worked really hard to make sure I could have a good, strong signal to talk to you guys. So
awesome.
Luckily, we're holding out.
Yeah.
My fingers are crossed.
Is it just standard cell signal, or are you running a satellite?
Nope, just standard cell signal.
Wow.
So I just did some looking to see where could I not be surrounded by, a bunch of tourists at an overlook, and where could I get some decent cell signal to talk to you guys. And then as soon as I hang up, I'm about less than a 2-minute drive from having no cell signal. So I'll be rounding that bend and getting back into no cell signal when we're done. Yeah.
There's some niceties to sometimes not having a cell signal. So
100%.
Yeah.
It can be shocking. How do you run your business being gone?
Yeah. So I carve time in. An out of the office is super important, but I carve time in to kind of check in on the emails. I work really hard when I'm home. I joke that everybody that I'm, July and August, I'm off work, but actually I'm working really hard in the office to do all the logistics, basically for the end of the year and then into next year, so that I have less to do here, so that I can just have the freedom to be creative. Because this is really the thing. If anybody's thinking about running workshops, it's one part scouting and knowing your locations and knowing the environment and having plan A through Z that you would, have to go through as the workshop's evolving. It's the other part, the business aspect, the social media, you're CMO, CTO, like you're all of these things. And I've never worked so hard in my life. It's an amazing job. But then my photography is about this much, because then as soon as the guests get here, it's 100% about them. So, this is, it's a dream job, but I've never worked so hard in my whole life.
Agreed.
And I just do it because I love it. It's fun. Yeah. And I don't even know these, guys are doing this now for over a decade. I don't even know that it's really about the travel and the locations as much as I genuinely love to teach, and I genuinely love my people and that they trust me. And gosh, I had somebody, an older guy who's been with me since workshop one, literally, who asked me to give his eulogy, like when the time comes.
Whoa.
Like that's just, I get the part that you get to play in people trusting you with their finances, because the workshops, cost the time, the travel away from, loved ones or whatever, time with work. Like it's such an honor and a privilege to get to do this, that it's really sacred.
Tiffany, I was in Page, Arizona one time. We did our meet and greet. And, I don't know why, I just looked at everybody in the room and I just thanked them.
Yeah.
Getting to Page, Arizona isn't exactly the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
And
right.
here's 9 people sitting there that went through the pain and suffering of getting there. So I thanked them. And we were walking out, and one of the people that was helped me out at the time, he goes, what'd you do that for? You're the star. I said, it's an honor. It's an honor that people do that. And I know John's like this too. We just feel so honored that these people take a week out of, maybe they get 2 weeks vacation a year and they're giving us a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Forget the cost, but just, it's such an honor. And this is why I wanted to have Tiffany on, John, because hopefully people here learn that it's, that there's hope here for workshop leaders. She's just marvelous.
Oh,
having said that,
workshop leader.
Let's do a little advertisement. What do you have coming up, and where can people find you, and what have you?
Yeah. So my company's called it's very original. It's the Photography Workshop Company. I don't even know how we got lucky enough to get that. And I actually, talking about, Landscape Photography Magazine, Dimitri is the owner and editor. And one day he told me, I named it the Landscape Photography Magazine because it is what it is and it's highly searchable. And I was like, well, that's really brilliant. So when I decided to start doing workshops, I said, I wonder if Photography Workshop Company is available. So I took a page from Dimitri on that one, and that's what it is. Yeah. So it's photographyworkshopcompany.com. A lot of our stuff, we're really blessed that a lot of our stuff for 26 is already sold out, for at least the first half. So I've got a couple spots straggling for the fall. This fall, I've got 3 spots I think left in the Smokies, and then we're starting to book into next fall. So we I have a really fantastic partner in Europe, in Tuscany, and we do an all-inclusive 7-day experience there where it's one part photography, one part cultural immersion, and the other part's food and wine. Because when in Tuscany, you got to have the food and wine, right? And she reached out and said, I'm going to expand into Provence and the Camargue. And she said, would you want to do that with me? And I said, you betcha. So we released that just last month or so, and it sold out within 8 hours. So that, I guess, I'm headed to France next year. And yeah, it's here's the thing. When you first go to a location, so because it's not just for workshop leaders, but for people, I don't always love the location the first time I visit it. I think it's because it's the unfamiliarity, and I just feel a little bit, maybe it's overwhelmed or daunted, but it takes me a minute. So that there is the benefit to having somebody along with you, a workshop leader who knows the location, before you do. But as the leader, I don't always love it the first time. Don't ask me. Yeah, or a local, but
and you add a lot to
the. Yeah, especially for a place that's exotic, like France or Tuscany. Understanding the culture, you can't properly shoot the culture unless you understand or you can't shoot the land unless you understand the culture.
Correct.
I really feel that. And I feel like I fall in love with a place when I get to know the locals. Like here, my sister-in-law's family's all from here in the Badlands, and they're ranchers. And they just live down the road. And I was at their ranch last night and helped them, moving the horses out to the pasture. And we spent a lot of time talking about ranch life here and about how they do it the old way. They don't run the cows with quads. They actually do it by horses, and they're maintaining that culture. So then they fed me some steak. It was fantastic. But it's this, when you're traveling, no matter where you're traveling for your own photography or with a workshop, if you can find a local that you really get to know, to understand the heartbeat of the place, like the Palouse or here, or even in Western Colorado, the old mining towns, gosh, it just becomes a richer experience. And then you've got a better story to share with the photography that you make.
So you do have some cancellations, perhaps. So just because these things are sold out, folks, get on the list. You never know this last minute stuff. But,
absolutely. I still have some for my Utah trip in January too. So if anybody's looking to do Utah when it's not blazing hot, that's a great time to go.
Well, maybe I'll have to take that one.
Yeah.
I might learn something, Jack.
Yeah, I might learn something is right.
No,
hey,
there's nothing.
I can't tell you how nice it is. We'll have to have you back if we can corral you again.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you so much for taking some time in the middle of the day where you could be getting some R&R to talk with John and
I really appreciate it. I'm super, super honored that you two asked me to join you. And I think so much of you, Jack. You're a legend in my book.
Well, thank you. But
and John, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
John will put up Tiffany on the podcast here. And folks, those of you listening, there'll be some links to Tiffany's website and all sorts of stuff on there. So if you need to get a hold of Tiffany or have any questions, you could do it that way. And if you have any questions about what we're doing or suggestions who we can have on, it's wetalkphoto@gmail.com. Talk about a good URL, huh?
Yeah.
When I was in, before Tom Phillips died in Monument Valley, he owns, his kids own it now. They own the URL monumentvalley.com. Imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've got a good one. Well, listen, Tiffany's nice. We're going to let you go. John, thank you for the great questions. John always comes up with some really, really good stuff. And we'll talk soon. So
sounds great.
John, until next time.
All right, folks. Thank you much. All right. See y'all.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.